I took classes, continuing education classes from Walter for 25 years. And I had to maintain my own insurance license, I had to have 12 hours of instruction, continuing education. And this guy and I sat through hours of instruction that he would give. And I was never, ever bored through that period of time. And if you folks ever get to hear a full discussion on insurance by this man, go hear it, because he knows what he's talking about, okay? Walter knows his stuff, okay? And he put up with me all those years too, so that's good. I'm Joe Stanley. My wife is Lunda Stanley, who volunteers here at the center. 15 years ago, my wife and I faced a crisis that people go through. She developed breast cancer, and it hit us like a ton of bricks. And when that occurred, we had to sit down and start making some decisions in our life that we never thought we would be faced with. And what all of y'all have done the same thing. And one of the things that we looked at primarily was setting up a will. We had a will that we had done, and we had gone online and gotten a little form that, and had gotten a will when we first got married, and I call it an I love you will, where we said we got a piece of paper and we signed a form and it said what's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours, I love you, and we signed it. And that was our will. And those are very common. But when her diagnosis came through and we were faced with more in-depth decisions. So we went and had a formal will drawn up. There is no reason in the world why everybody in this room should not have a will. I don't care if you're over 18 in the state of North Carolina and you're of sound mind, you can have a will, and everybody should have one, okay? It doesn't have to be elaborate, and based on what your situation is, it doesn't have to be anything complicated, but you need to have a will for several reasons. If nothing else, a will lets people know how you want, for example, your last rites, how you want your burial service to be, how you want any assets that you have to be distributed, where you want those assets to go. If you want to make contributions to your church, or if you want any personal items you have to go to relatives or nieces or friends, that has to be down on paper. Because in the state of North Carolina, if you die without a will, the court decides where your assets goes. And it's usually just divided up among relatives and family, and it could go anywhere. So get something down on paper somewhere. Okay, get you a will established that says how you want your assets to be handled at your death. Okay? Now, I am not licensed to practice law in the state of North Carolina, which means I don't have to use a lot of big fancy words to confuse everybody. I'm going to talk to you in plain English. In a will can be as complicated as a person wants to make it, depending on what your holdings are, depending on what your assets. For example, a couple with small children, a young couple with small children, would want to put something in their will that if something would happen to them, how would their children be taken care of? Who would they want to be the trustee for their children, the guardian? A person would want to set up a will to decide what to do if they have let's say they keep a handicapped child, and they're the guardian for a handicapped child. What happens to that handicapped child in the minute of their death? You can put anything in a will that you want to, okay? But absolutely go get one. Go get yourself a will. Included in your will, you want to have what's called a power of attorney. A power of attorney basically is something that you specify someone else to take care of your affairs in case you're incapable of doing it. Okay? There's what's called a durable power of attorney, which means let's say that you're in a car accident and you're unconscious in a coma for a certain period of time. You want to designate somebody, all right, that's going to handle financial affairs for you, who's going to pay bills, who's going to take care of just your basic items. It's got to be somebody you trust for obvious reasons. All right, it's got to be somebody you trust. So you think long and hard about who you make that decision to, or who you give that power to. A power of attorney can always be changed. You can always change who your power of attorney is by just going and modifying your will, changing that. Okay, but you're going to want to have a power of attorney. You're also going to want to set up what's called a living will. And a living will is what the people at the hospital are going to want. That's going to direct the hospital about who, about the kind of care that you want sustaining life. In other words, saying you don't want to be hooked up to a machine. And it's got to say that in your living will, and that's part of the will. You're going to have a health care power of attorney. Now that's different from the other power of attorney. You're going to have a health care power of attorney. And that power of attorney is going to make the decision, or is going to express your wishes to your the medical people about what your wishes are. They're the ones that says he did not want to be hooked up to that machine. Okay? So have that down on paper, because the hospital is going to want to have that in writing. They're going to want to have that. Because if they don't have that in writing, they can just keep you hooked up on that machine. And it's not good. Okay? Up to now, are there any questions?
So you need a living will and a health care power of attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're naming a person for the...
You're naming a person for that.
And
all, let's say that you have a couple, you want to name one of your children to be your health care power of attorney. Only have one. Don't have more than one power of attorney. Because if you name two health care power of attorneys, they can argue back and forth whether, how the health care should be. So have one person. Have one person as your regular power of attorney also. You don't want more than one person to have access to your financial affairs. Yes, ma'am.
You can have that same person to do both, can't you?
Yes, but I'd have two separate. I don't know that I'd have the same person doing both. Because the person that had charge over your financial affairs would also have charge over your health care. And that should be two separate people.
Even if it's your children.
Ma'am, I've seen some strange things happen with children. That's all I'm going to say. Just because they're children doesn't mean that.
I see, I believe you.
Right, but I would have two separate people. And only keep one of each. Don't have two power of attorneys. Don't keep one. All right, any questions up to now? Okay, where do you go to get a will? Lawyers, in most cases, are not needed unless there's special circumstances involved. In other words, the care of a handicapped child or a minor child, or unless you have a lot of property, if you have joint property set up, or unless your assets are fairly sizable. Now, state taxes for 2015 only apply for people that have estates of more than $5.7 million. So that's not going to apply to most of us. All right? But in some cases, you will need an attorney to do the will for you. You've got to go see those guys sometimes. I'm sorry, but you got to. If you don't think you need an attorney, you can go online, and there's several websites. One website is called Law Depot, LAWDEPOT.com. That's one website, and they have the forms on there, and all you do is fill in the stuff and print out the form. They're free. Okay. Another website I found is called Total Legal, TOTAL legal.com, and that's also free. You just go on there, fill out the form, and then print it out. Okay? You're going to want to have the form notarized, your will notarized. You want to have it done and signed in the presence of 2 witnesses and have 2 non-related witnesses. I mean, people off the street are just fine. I'd rather it be somebody like that than somebody who's a close family member. Don't have them be a witness to your will. Somebody totally just, hey, you want to sign this? Watch me sign this, okay? They don't know what's in, they're not gonna know what's in there. All they're gonna do is just witness your signature. That's all they do, okay? And when you have it notarized, the notary is gonna wanna see you sign it and witness before they'll notarize it. So make sure you have all that done, all right? And the reason you get it notarized is when it comes time to put the will in force and you take it down to the clerk of court, if it's notarized, that makes it look legal. It's got that seal on there. Keep the wills in a safe place, in a lockbox. Give a copy of whoever you pick to be your executor of your will. You're going to pick somebody you trust. You're going to name them in the will. Give a copy to them. Just keep it somewhere where it's, you know you can get access to it. And let any children you have know where they can get their hands on it in case they need it. Any questions? Come on, that couldn't be that good. Yes, ma'am.
Don't forget about power of attorney. It's so important. When my father was hit by a motorcycle in Sydney, Australia, I was his only heir, but he didn't have a power of attorney. And we went through some horrible things trying to get money owed to him from the bank, his bills paid. So that is so important. Don't let that slip by.
Have the power of attorney somebody you trust. I mean, somebody you trust with their hands in your pocket, because their hands will be in your pocket.
It's so
All
important.
right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
And make sure you have a medical power of attorney, you know.
Yes.
You're riding down the highway and, you know, and get hit by a car or whatever it is, you know. And,
Healthcare power of attorney.
and they say, well, we're going to do this. And then, you know, they're going to do whatever they want to do. You know, when you got that medical power of attorney, they had to see them and say, well, he didn't want this and that and the other and so forth.
Yes, sir. Young man back there in the back who was 23 years old, he should have a will.
But he doesn't.
At his age, he should have a will. Yes, ma'am?
It's been years since we've updated our will, and in the meantime, a lot has happened, obviously, in our lives, but the people we had chosen, I know we need to update it, but the people we have chosen for our children to go to have since divorced and gone their separate ways. God forbid something were to happen to my husband and I, what would happen at this point?
Unless you change the will.
We have not changed it at this
Right.
point. I know we need to.
Right.
What, hypothetically, I mean, I know we need to change it, it's just, so much has happened in our lives.
Well,
We can't keep up with
your
life.
children would have one weekend with one person and one weekend
Oh
with
my
another person.
gosh.
They would have joint custody
Seriously,
of your
that's what would
children.
happen?
Oh, absolutely,
Oh my God.
because you didn't
We
change
need
your
to
will
change
to show them. As circumstances change, you can amend your will.
Oh my
You
God.
can do that, you make sure you do it. Another thing too, if you had retirement accounts or anything, if you had retirement accounts and you named a spouse as a beneficiary, okay, every once in a while, go back and make sure that your retirement accounts or whatever you have still has the same beneficiary on there that you want on there. Okay? I had a good friend of mine who passed away, and he was on his second marriage, and he had from his first marriage, he had an insurance policy that he forgot to take his first wife's name off. And when he died, she got the money. And this was from 25, 30 years ago. So you kind of need to just when this diagnosis hits you in the face, time to sit down and just kind of look and say, okay, let's kind of see what we got to do here, folks. And that's what my wife and I did. And y'all do the same thing. Just look at it and say, let's get this done. Yes, ma'am.
The executor of the will?
Executor.
The executor of the will?
There you go, using them big terms, I say, they're not gonna use them.
Okay. If you have a will,
Right.
And can can a family member just take it to the lawyer and he do his thing, I mean, he do the
Yep.
thing?
Yep.
Or do you have to name someone?
No, ma'am. An executor, an executor, okay? That's a
Executor.
4-syllable word. We could use a 4-syllable word in here. Okay, that person.
That person.
That person. All you do, when you name that person, all you're doing is saying, okay, we want you to handle it, to take this will and make sure everything we stipulated in here is carried out. And that person is responsible for going to the clerk of court. That person is responsible for filing any tax returns that have to be done. That person is responsible for notifying any creditors or that, putting a notice in the paper that, notice to creditor. That person is responsible to do all that. Now, they are also entitled to take a fee. The state of North Carolina, they're entitled to 5% of the assets to do that. Okay? They're entitled to that under state law. But all the executor does is execute the will as he's written. That's all he does. Now, most executors, probably if it's a complicated will, he would take it to the attorney and let the attorney settle it. So, and that's the easiest way to, I mean, I don't want to give attorneys bad name because I know some great attorneys and I know some great estate attorneys. If you got questions or if you got certain issues in your life and you're not sure how you want to state in your will, it might be, remember the old commercial that says you can pay me now or pay me later? It might be worth it to take it to a good attorney who's not going to charge a whole lot of money to do this. And let him write it up right, rather than you sitting down trying to figure out on the form how to do it. If you ever look at these forms, you go online, these websites I gave you, you go online and you look on there, you got to fill out a lot of information online, and you can print out your will, but after you get it, you're not really sure it's how you want it. But if you sit down with a good attorney, you can tell him what you want, and he can write it up for you too. That's.
He can tweak it.
Yep, he can change it, and also if you need to change it, you can go back to him, he can, like this lady said back here, and she wants to put new guardians for her children. All she has to do is go back to where he did the will before, and they can change it for her. At very nominal fee. Yes, sir.
If, say you don't have a wife or a husband, whatever.
Yes, sir.
And you only have one child.
Yes, sir.
Would then you make that child like the power of attorney, the power executor, the whole thing? I mean, I would feel better, with the one surviving person.
Right.
Knowing that they would handle all three of those things. Would that not be advisable?
Absolutely, if that's what you want to do. That's what you, in your case, yeah, it's not a cookie cutter. I mean, they're
Right.
to make, there are different situations. In your case, sure, if you're comfortable with him for both power of attorneys, absolutely, your child, you, sure, nothing wrong with it. Yes, sir.
So if you have all those documents, the will and all that, and you were living in New York and you retired and moved to North Carolina, are those still good?
No, sir.
From New York? No?
No, sir. No, sir. Unless you want to file back in New York, but the will is only good, you have to get it changed to the state in which you're residing. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I'm asking this question correctly, but on your bank accounts, if the one that died and the remaining spouse, there were no debts, there were no hospital bills, no medical bills, no other creditors that they owe money to.
Yes, ma'am.
Would they still have a long period of probation on your account?
Depends on how the account was titled. If it's joint tenants with right of survivorship,
Yes.
you would go to the bank and you give them a copy of the death certificate, and there's no waiting. In other words, they get that copy of that death certificate, the deceased spouse names come off, and the living spouse goes on.
Oh,
And there's no, with joint tenants with right of survivorship.
okay, good. Good.
I hadn't used any legal terms, have I used any?
Executive.
Oh.
Executor.
This lady did that. I didn't use that term. I did not say that. It's not complicated. Just go get it done. Even you, young man, go get it done. Get it done. You might want to tell somebody how you want to handle your death. You might.
Makes it
What-
easy on your parents.
What hymns you want sung at your service? Put it on paper, get it notarized, and, sir?
After I get the document notarized and have two witnesses, who would I give the document to?
I'd give one to your parent, and I'd put one to, where you keep your other documents.
Okay, like I thought we would give it to some kind of deeds or something like that.
No, you don't, a will is not registered until it's, I ain't gonna say the word. No, I was gonna say probate, but I'm not gonna say that. No, you don't have to take it anywhere. You just keep it with you, or keep it in a lockbox, or with a family member, so keep copies.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir?
I found in my life that if you don't have good parents, and I'm not speaking negative to anybody, go find some good parents, and you get a lot of information from that good parent. That's what I'm saying. I had an aunt, and she started my first checking account when I was 7 years old at Walker Bank when we used to do that. And so on and so on. I had good parents, and they taught me things that they told me something that they couldn't get. They said, but when you get to those, able to get that. Insurance and everything. I got insurance policy now, I was over 20 years old. And I've had it, and when I got, and he told me also, if you possibly can, find good jobs to get employed, because they give you good benefits, insurance and everything. It didn't spell it, it got more resources. And my wife right here, back in 2001, she had breast cancer. But I already had something in place years before. I didn't think I would get no cancer. I was young. I was like this man back in my 20s. And I took that, the company offered the insurance, but, and so they had a lot of, different kinds of insurance, but I took it all. And I say about 7, 8 years later, she had breast cancer. They paid all of it.
Do you have a will?
I had one, then I got to expect another one because things have changed,
Right.
and I'm in the process of making another.
How about doing me a favor? How
Yes,
about
sir.
doing that as soon as possible?
Okay.
Please.
Yeah,
Please.
but good parents or good parenting really helps out a
Yes,
lot of
sir.
people when they're younger. Because when you get old, things get kind of foggy, things happen. So I like to give a hand good parents because they're a resource that a lot of people don't take advantage of. Because I think when the parents get old, they don't know that they're students. They don't know. You don't know nothing. You're old. I mean, that's the mindset of some young people. They think you're old. You don't know nothing.
Yay.
But I'm gonna try to, try to say something here that some of the parents here can go tell the children. That's not so. Because the elderly, when you get old, you get wisdom. Most of us should. And you're supposed to, the elderly women is supposed to help the girls, and the elderly men is supposed to help the boys. Much as possible can. And see, sometimes they won't obey then, but see, that's why they'll obey, it'll come back to them. And take advantage of it. But I've been blessed really through my marriage for 39 years to help my wife out, because that bill she had when she had breast cancer, it would be just the hospital bill alone. I share this with you. It was over $90,000. Guess how much my insurance was I was paying for it. Doctor didn't believe it. What was it, about $1.92 a month? God took it early. God took the whole package from my job. Because I was a family man. That's what my parents taught me. And see, I took out what I could, when I could, to protect the family. But I was, Dr. Lemley, I still got those insurance policy. I was paying $1.92 a week coming out of my paycheck. And it took it out so long, I forgot what, I had to call company and find what $1.92 was. I said, what is this something? Because they had abbreviation beside the amount they were taking out. And, I said, what is this abbreviation? He said, that's your cancer insurance. Oh, okay. Well, who is it on? It's just on me. He said it's on your whole family.
You are gonna update your will, aren't you?
Oh, yes, sir. I took care of it. No problem.
I got my eye on you.
Okay. My name's David.
Any more questions?
What was the first website that you gave to find the wills?
Lawdepot.com. It's LAWDEPOT.
LAW what?
DEPOT. Now they don't, these forms are free. These things are free. They will come up and, they'll have little pop-ups when you're going through the computer. Pop-ups will come up and says, well, for $34.95, we'll help you make a decision on this. Now you skip, it'll have skip. You just skip on by that and just keep filling in the blanks. Then when it says done, you print it out. All right, and remember when you get it, when you have it, when you sign it, and you do it in front of the notary and have the witnesses, everybody at one time, and get it done. Okay? But get it done, folks. Get it done.
What's the average price of just a plain will done by a lawyer?
Okay?
Average price.
Okay? I will, there are some in High Point, and I'm not gonna give names because that would be preferential, and I'm not gonna do it. But ask around. There are some very, very good estate attorneys in High Point, very good, that you can negotiate fees with. And you can get them for as little as $400 to $500 and get everything done. And that may sound like a lot of money, but it also removes a lot of headaches. So,
Members said Employees Credit Union, they'll refer to a lawyer a lot less.
yeah.
That's right.
Because all it is, they got the same forms in their office that you're getting online. And all they're gonna do is fill in your name and information and print it out. Exactly. So it's not that expensive to them. Okay? I've talked enough. My wife probably telling me to hush back there. Any more questions, but other than that, thank you very much for your time.